The Last Ronin, the story where Michelangelo is the last Ninja Turtle alive trying to avenge his family, is finally coming to an end today in the Last Ronin finale, so let's jump right into it. Okay, so the last issue ended with Mikey, Casey, April, and the rest of their team successfully taking out Baxter Stockman's compound, shutting down a bunch of Oroku's tech as well in the process. And in this issue we pick up with Mikey telling the ghost of his brothers to stop distracting him while he thinks of what his next move is. They tell him that he's wasting time and that him and his team should be taking Oroku down now that they caught him off guard by unplugging his tech. Their criticisms become too much for him to bear, and so he storms off, expressing that he knows exactly what he has to do. They follow him and ask him what his plan is, but all he has to say is that he's tired of repeating himself and that they need to stop talking while he stops April, Casey, and people like them from getting hurt. The ghosts tell Mikey that he'd be lost without them, and so he demands them to leave and to never come back after expressing how hard it is to live with them being gone and criticizing him every day. After that, he writes a message in Master Splinter's book, then leaves as the story goes over to Casey and her team amidst the chaos that has broken out after the power outage in the city. They're having trouble uniting the resistance when suddenly Casey is informed that the power outage is causing a flood in the sewers. After that, we go over to Oroku, who is furious about what's going on and taking it out on his men. He commands his men to put his soldiers on full tactical alert and then demands them to bring him his armor because he wants to kill the mutant himself now. Meanwhile, Casey rushes down into the sewers that are starting to fill up with water to find her mom. When she finds her, her mom tells her that the power system failure has knocked out the water pumps and that they're history because she neglected them for too long, so now they're rusted shut. Casey then learns that Mikey took off, which angers her into punching a wall. April then tries to calm her down because she'll hurt herself, but Casey expresses that she knows that she won't because she knows that she's different. That's when April fesses up and explains why she's enhanced. They then focus back on Mikey. April tells Casey to let Mikey finish his family's destiny on his own, but Casey insists that she's part of Mikey's family and will stay in this fight till the end. After that, we find ourselves in Oroku's base where Mikey made his way inside with the help of some thermite grenades that caused a diversion. As he makes his way to the upper level, he leaves a trail of bodies on the stairs and throughout practically every single floor, stating that it was easy because the foot ninjas are now soft after having their jobs done for them for the last few decades by the synthetic hybrid ninjas. When he reaches the final door that leads to the top floor, he's met by a giant foot ninja who stands guard. They instantly go into battle with Mikey dodging all of the ninja's attacks and then ending him with a clean stab in the throat. After that, Mikey demands Oroku to come out, and that's when he's hit with a bunch of robotic crows. He easily EMPs them before being swatted in the air by a giant robotic mech with wings. It gives him somewhat of a challenge, but not enough to get in his way of stopping Oroku. He uses the sword from the giant foot ninja he bested shortly ago to shut down any of the mech's further efforts. And then finally, the one he's been vengefully pursuing all this time finally reveals himself. He tells Oroku that now his family will die while looking at the tube that sustains Oroku's mother. But Oroku reveals that he never even cared about his mother, only keeping her there to rub in his victories. He then stabs his mother through the glass and tells Mikey that it's time to begin the end while activating his suit's liquid metal armor. He tackles Mikey off of a ledge as the room around them bursts into flames. Mikey takes note of his suit's technology and starts feeling the pressure kick in as it begins to get harder to breathe in all the smoke. They're both suddenly caught off guard when an explosion bursts from the room, expelling them out of the building in the process. Meanwhile, Casey begins to worry about Mikey as she is informed on what's going on at Oroku's tower. Mikey and Oroku begin sliding off of the tower after being expelled from the building, fighting each other in midair until luckily falling directly into a water tower. April watches the tower go down in flames before realizing that she needs to help her mom stop the flooding. After that, Mikey notices a flaw/opening in Oroku's armor, but then it closes up and he realizes that the armor is self-repairing before they clash weapons once again. April, on the other hand, dives into the sewers that are filling up rapidly to try and save her mom, who is desperately trying to repair the water pumps. Going back to Mikey, he starts to struggle, moving at half his normal speed because Oroku won't let up. He relentlessly applies pressure as he knows that Mikey is injured. Oroku is then able to catch Mikey off guard, slicing into his body and knocking him to the ground. Mikey is forced to get creative, so he pulls out a mini grenade, placing it in Oroku's hand. Once it explodes, it creates an opening in his armor, allowing Mikey to stab Raphael's sai straight through his palm. Oroku shrugs off the attack but is then distracted and broken when seeing that his tower has now bursted into flames. This allows Mikey to catch him off guard, battering him off of the building, causing him to crash land onto the street. Meanwhile, Casey eventually finds her mom struggling to repair the water pumps. Oroku, on the other hand, is starting to crumble. He no longer has his armor thanks to the fall and Mikey stabbing Leo's sword directly through his stomach. Mikey grabs a nearby sewer lid, attempting to end Oroku by smashing his head in with it, but before he can, Oroku slices into his stomach and then his armor reactivates, healing himself in the process. This forces Mikey to retreat into the sewers so he can try and patch himself up, but Oroku won't let up and follows him closely behind. Mikey then grazes Oroku's head with his nunchuck before we get another update on Casey and April. April provides her daughter some air, but then suddenly the walls begin collapsing and giant rocks begin falling on top of them. Casey takes out as many of the rocks as she can to protect her mother until finally April is able to get the pumps working. But then suddenly Casey is hit and overwhelmed by one of the rocks. After that, we continue the fight with Mikey and Oroku being consumed by all of the water, then flushed out of the sewer. Oroku claims that he can't be defeated, but now his armor has completely dissipated once again, allowing Mikey to dish multiple blows to his body and face. It is then that Oroku realizes that he cannot win this battle, so as Mikey chokes him out, he resorts to activating a self-destructing mechanism built into his armor that kills himself but also gravely injures Mikey in the process. As Oroku's lifeless body lays in the mud, Mikey falls over after finally finishing his mission. Casey then jumps out of the sewers, panicking as her newfound sensei and friend slowly fades into the afterlife. Then April shows up, and before Mikey goes, he tells Casey that the most important lesson she must know is peace. And then as April and Casey sadly give their last goodbyes, Mikey, the last Ronin and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle, makes it into Turtle Heaven. He wakes up confused, unaware of what's going on. His brothers tell him to hurry up because they're going up top to train, and the last one there has to do the dishes for a week. Everyone beats Mikey and he claims that they cheated, but then he sees his beloved father, Master Splinter, and best friend Casey, and expresses that he's glad to be home. After that, we jump into the future where Casey is training. She misses Mikey and promises not to let him down. Then she goes and checks on her mom, who says that her tests are constantly improving. Casey then asks what they're eating today, and April thought she was asking what they themselves were gonna eat, but she was referring to the 4 new baby turtles that she's raising and eagerly waiting to train. And that is sadly when the last Ronin comes to an end. Let me know what you thought of this series in the comments down below, and I will catch you on the next one.